Example 49, it says use the graph of y is equal to 1 over x squared to sketch the graph of 2 of g of x is equal to 2 over x squared plus 2x plus 1. All right, first of all, g of x is equal to 2 over x squared plus 2x plus 1 can be written as g of x is equal to 2 over x plus 1 squared. Now, if I have, let us say, f of x is equal to 1 over x squared as my starting point, I could obtain the graph of, let's say, f of x plus 1, which is the same as what? 1 over x plus 1 square. To obtain this graph, I'd have to shift the graph of y is equal to 1 over x squared 1 unit to the left. All right, so in the diagram here, what I have is the graph of y is equal to 1 over x squared. That's this graph. And here, both the the y-axis and the x-axis are asymptotes. If I move the entire graph 1 unit to the left, the new asymptote is going to be, the new vertical asymptote is going to be the line x is equal to minus 1. All right, let me reset and write at the bottom. So it would be x is equal to minus 1. And that is because I'm going to move the entire, right now the vertical asymptote is the y-axis, which is the line x is equal to 0. If I move the entire graph 1 unit to the left, the new asymptote is going to be the new vertical asymptote is going to be the line x is equal to minus 1. So now the next thing is that now g of x is going to be equal to 2 over x minus 1, plus 1 squared. Now the graph of g of x is equal to 2 over x plus 1 square can be obtained from the graph f of x plus 1 by a vertical stretch of factor 2. Now, in a vertical stretch of factor 2, the x coordinates are going to remain the same, and the y coordinates, I'm going to multiply them by 2. So let's see what happens to a few points. Now, the point 1, 1, if I move it to the left, it's going to become the point 1 unit to the left, it's going to become 0, 1. And if I stretch it by a factor 2, if I stretch it parallel to the y-axis by a factor 2, it means I would multiply the y coordinate, which is 1, by 2, and that point is going to become the point 0, 2. All right. Now the point 2 1/2, 2 1/4, it's 2 1/4. The point 2 1/4, move it 1 unit to the left, it becomes 1 1/4. Then stretch it by a factor 2. The y coordinate, which is 1/4, multiplied by 2, you get 1/2, and that becomes the point 1 1/2. All right. Now the point minus 1, 1 unit to the left, multiplied by 2, it becomes minus 2. All right, let's have a look at the point 1/2, 4. 1/2, 4, 1 unit to the left, minus 1/2, 4. multiply it by 2, you reach all the way up here. So a half 4 becomes minus a half 8. A half 4 becomes minus a half 8. 1 unit to the left, a half 4, which is here. 1 unit to the left brings it here. Multiply the y coordinate by 2, it brings it up to 8. All right. The point minus a half 4, 1 unit to the left, it becomes minus 1.5. Multiply the 4 by 2, 8. So that comes up here. All right. The point minus 2.25, 1 unit to the left, minus 3.25. Multiply quarter by 2, it becomes a half, minus a half. All right, with that, I should have enough information to draw my sketch. All right, and I will draw the best sketch I can draw. And of course, the x-axis is still an asymptote. The x-axis is still an asymptote. All right, and the next asymptote is the line x is equal to minus 1. It's my vertical asymptote. All right, and so the red graph would be the graph g of x, which is equal to 2 over x plus 1 squared. All right. So we'll look at the final question with this heading or topic. Given that g of x is equal to x plus 1 over x plus 2, describe transformation that moves f of x is equal to 1 over x onto the graph of g of x, and sketch g of x. But first of all, let's do the division, and we're going to have x plus 2 into x plus 1. X goes into x one time, 1 times x, 2 is 2. When I subtract, I'm going to get minus 1. So g of x, which is x plus 1 over x plus 2, is the same as saying 1 minus 1 over x plus 2. All right, it's 1 minus 1 over x plus 2. Now, if, let us say, f of x is equal to 1 over x is my starting point. So the first thing would be, so I have f of x is equal to 1 over x. F of x plus 2 would be 1 over x plus 2. So that would be a horizontal translation of 2 units to the left. All right. Then I'm going to have minus f of x plus 2, which is the same as saying minus 1 over x plus 2. All right, and that would be a reflection in the x-axis. All right, and then finally we have g of x, which is equal to 1 minus 1 over x plus 2, and that would be a vertical translation of 1 unit. All right, so then they say end sketch, so let's sketch. The first thing we'd have to do is to move 2 units to the left. If I move 2 units to the left, my new vertical asymptote is going to become the line x is equal to minus 2. First, the vertical asymptote was the y-axis, which is the line x is equal to 0. Now the new vertical asymptote, because I moved the entire graph, or the graph of y is equal to 1 over x, 2 units to the left. Then the next thing I would do is I would reflect in the x-axis and then move the entire graph vertically 1 unit upward. So let's do that 1 point at a time. All right, 1 unit upward means that the new horizontal asymptote is going to become the line x is equal to 1. So the asymptotes are changing because I both moved the graph to the left and vertically upwards. All right, so 1, 1, let's going to see what's going to happen to 1, 1. 2 units to the left would bring it to minus 1, 1. If you reflect it in the x-axis, it's going to bring it to minus 1, minus 1. And then if I move it 2 units, 1 unit vertically upward, it's going to go to minus 1, 0. So minus 1, 1 became 1, 1 became minus 1, 0. All right, let us see what happens to the point 2, 1/2. Move it 2 units to the left, it becomes 0, 1/2, 0, 1/2. Then reflect it in the x-axis, it becomes 0, minus 1/2. Then move it 2 units upwards, it becomes, all right, that seems off. It seems way off. 2 units to the left, then reflect in the x-axis, and then 1 unit vertically upward, not 2, 1 unit vertically upward. That would make it, put it here. All right. The point 4, 1/4, 2 units to the left, 2, 1/4. Reflect in the x-axis, 2 minus 1/4, then 1 unit up. That would put it at 2, 3/4. All right. Let's get the point 1/2, 2, 1/2, 2. 2 units to the left becomes minus 1 1/2, 2. Reflect in the x-axis, it becomes minus 1/2, minus 2. 1 unit up, it becomes here. All right. And lastly, 1/4, 1/4, 4. 2 units to the left, 1, 2. Reflect, so that's minus 3/4, 4. Minus 1 3/4, 4. Reflect in the x-axis, minus 1 3/4, minus 4. 1 unit up, it comes here. All right, so I'm ready to draw the first half of my graph. The first half of my graph would look something like this. All right, and really in a crunch for time, the second half of the graph, I'm guessing, would look something like this. All right, obviously, we could go through different points to show that that is the case, but that is something that you could do in your own time. And so the graph g of x is equal to 1 minus 1 over x plus 2 is obtained from the graph of 1 over x by moving 2 units to the left, reflecting in the x-axis, and then moving 2 units vertically.